Good evening and welcome. Tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari in New York for the United Nations General Assembly expected to hold strategic bilateral meetings with world leaders, investors and heads of multinational organizations. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo joins other world leaders in London ahead of Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. Death toll in Jigawa flood disaster hits 92 as waters continue to submerge communities in various parts of the state. And 24 Nigerians sue the Independent National Electoral Commission for not allowing them to complete their online registration. President Muhammadu Buhari will, any moment from now, arrive in New York in the United States, where he will join other world leaders for the United Nations General Assembly. A theme for the 77th session, which opened on Tuesday, September 13, is watershed moments, transformative solutions to interlocking challenges. Key topics of discussions at the UNGA this year include the war in Ukraine, the energy crisis, climate action, and the COVID-19 pandemic, and a special transforming of the educational summit. President Buhari will take his turn to deliver the national statement on the second day of the general debates on Wednesday, September 21st. Now, aside his statement, the president will also participate in high-level meetings and side events. President Buhari will also hold strategic bilateral meetings with world leaders, renowned investors and heads of multinational organizations while in New York. On the entourage of the president are the First Lady, Aisha Buhari, some state governors, ministers and top government officials. The president is expected back in the country on Monday, September 26th. Meanwhile, the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, has described the late Queen Elizabeth II as a monarch for all seasons who brought people together from all over the world. This is contained in the Vice President's short tribute to the Queen at Lancaster House. In the condolence register at the venue, the Vice President noted that Nigeria joins the government and people of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth and the rest of the world in expressing the sincere condolence to the royal family on the passing of the monarch for all seasons. May the Lord bless her memory, he said. Later, at a bilateral meeting between Professor Osinbajo and the UK Foreign Secretary, they discussed how to improve trade ties between the two countries, especially expanding opportunities for Nigerian businesses and supporting the country's climate objectives. This evening, King Charles III is hosting the Vice President and other visiting world leaders at a reception at Buckingham Palace as part of activities for the state funeral of the British monarch. The Vice President's spokesperson, Laolu Akonde, spoke with our London correspondent, Juliana Olainka, early in the day on the significance of the Vice President's visit.
The Queen has just passed, and Nigeria is a member of the Commonwealth. We are mourning the passage of the Queen. We stand with the British people, you know, as a full-fledged member of the Commonwealth, to mourn, you know, somebody who was clearly a great leader. The Vice President will be representing Nigeria, and he arrived last night from Abuja, and on Monday he will be at the funeral service, clearly demonstrating how important the federal government considers its relationship with Britain.
The UK has today observed a minute's silence for the Queen. It comes as more world leaders arrived to attend the Queen's funeral tomorrow. They've also been able to pay their respects at the line in state in Westminster Hall before that reception in Buckingham Palace. Presidents such as the Brazilian President, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and others were at the line in state in Westminster Hall and also in Buckingham Palace this evening. As leaders arrived in the country on Sunday, many also made their way to Westminster Hall to pay their respects to the Queen. U.S. President Joe Biden, alongside First Lady Jill Biden, took their place on the balcony, making the sign of the cross before briefly placing a hand on his heart. The couple was accompanied by the U.S. Ambassador to the UK, Jane Hunt. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, and Cyprus President Nikos Anastasiadis paid their respects to the late Queen. Chinese Vice President Wang Qishan and members of the Chinese delegation view the coffin of the Queen. Mr. Wang will also be attending the Queen's funeral at the invitation of the British government, according to the Foreign Ministry. Ukraine's First Lady Olena Zelenska and the Kings of Spain and Sweden also visited Westminster Hall to pay their respects to the late Queen. Even the French President Emmanuel Macron, alongside his wife Brigitte. After paying their respects, leaders began arriving at Buckingham Palace for a reception ahead of the funeral, with King Charles III as their host. Presidents, prime ministers, kings, queens, and sultans, representing nearly 200 countries and territories, are expected at the funeral on Monday. Meanwhile, King Charles also received leaders from the realms. Prime ministers from Tuvalu, Antigua and Barbuda, and Papua New Guinea were among those to meet the king in the 1844 room of Buckingham Palace. As monarch, the king is now head of 15 states, though he wields little constitutional power or influence. Tens of thousands of police officers and military personnel will be taking part in the state funeral on Monday, September 19, in what will be one of the biggest security operations the country has ever seen. The Queen's funeral is expected to attract hundreds of thousands of people to London streets, echoing other important events in Britain's history, including her coronation in 1953, the funeral of former Prime Minister Winston Churchill in 1965, and the death of Princess Diana in 1997. And as the countdown begins to 6:30 a.m. of Monday, the end of the line in state for the Queen, it seems the whole world is still waiting in line to catch a last glimpse of the longest reigning monarch of the British Empire. And on a programming note, Channels Television will be bringing you live coverage of the Queen's funeral on Monday, September 19, 2022, from both our Lagos and London studios from 10 a.m. Join us then. Back home, the death toll from the series of floods in Jigawa State has risen to 92, as 29 more persons have been confirmed dead in different parts of the state. A public relations officer of the State Police Command, DSP Lawal Shisu, confirmed the figures to Channels Television. According to him, the deaths occurred mostly as a result of drowning, canoe mishap, thunderstorms, and building collapse.
Flood has continued to wreak havoc as more communities and farmlands are submerged in many parts of Jigawa State in northwest Nigeria. From the beginning of August to date, 92 people, including children, have lost their lives. Roads have been cut off, forcing people to seek alternative routes to travel. This is Akwawa Road. This road connects to Miga and Jahun local government area of Jigawa State. As you can see behind me, the road has cut off, and for one to cross over the road, he has to use canoe. Thousands are now displaced and living in public buildings, as the chairman of Ringim local government lists communities affected in his local council.
We have a lot of communities and villages. Have been affected for this flooding. We are starting from Debi, Karama, Marawa, Majiawa, Sentilma, Malama Enduse, Chori, and Garengeda. Lastly, Sankara. This flood has been occurred for the first 7 days. And a lot of people that have lost their life, about 8 people have lost their life. The total number for the house has been lost, about 21,300.
In Karne village in Duse, the people have been living in a primary school for over 2 weeks with 7 babies delivered in the temporary camp.
Akalla ba kasar ba kuma akwai wacce ta yi barin ƴaƴa biyu ko ciwon rayun abun nan ne Allah ka abun can muka tafi da Bashar aka yi tsakanin muka dawo asibitin Dutse aka ce ɗaya ya fito ɗaya bai fito ba.
With the increasing death toll, the state government pledges to support the victims, while appealing to the general public to also assist the victims with food and other materials to cushion the effect of the flood. Sadiq Ilyasu, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, at least 2 persons have been confirmed dead after a 4-story building collapsed on Saturday in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital. The Akwa Ibom state government has assured of detailed investigation into the incident to prevent a recurrence. Almost 24 hours after the incident, rescue operation is still ongoing by a combined team of different agencies of government.
Rescue operation continues at the building collapse site in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, where 2 persons have been confirmed dead. The scene is attracting many people who are trying to catch a glimpse of the emergency operations there. The building almost at ground zero, safety officials say the possibility of rescuing anyone alive is becoming slimmer, even as the state government is on a fact-finding mission.
When it happened, of course, we mobilized all that we could. The police was here, all security agencies, they came here to secure this site and then start looking for if there was a dead person there. That's what we'll do. We cannot go further than this unless we find those who are directly involved. For example, who owns the house, number 1. Number 2, who supervised the building. Number 3, where did the building get a government plan? We will check. When we get the names, we now check. We check whether it has got a plan.
From available records, we got to know that a 4-story building under construction collapsed on a bungalow. And what we needed to do first was to coordinate our stakeholders to ensure that we save lives. And that operation has been ongoing since yesterday. Fortunately, some lives have been recovered. 1 dead, 2 dead bodies we have on record. So what we want to ascertain now is to get to the bottom of this building to ensure that there is no person, dead or alive, that is remaining. That's what the excavator is doing. It is only when that is done that we will ensure that our rescue operation is completed. Otherwise, we must continue to dig deep to the ground floor to ensure that no person, dead or alive, is still under the rubble.
Residents and business owners in the affected areas speak on the incident and the need for the government to ensure quality control during construction.
The roof was on top of my shop. Everything fell down flat. I'm not able to remove anything. I've not removed anything from my shop. All my machine has gone. All my clothes, customers' clothes. But I thank God for life because had it been it was not weekend. I have more than 15 apprentices. I wouldn't have been able to remove all of them. But I thank God for life. At least I am alive. I left my shop. It was not even up to 10 minutes when this thing happened.
My boy was here yesterday evening. So after he finished cooking Indomie, his brother came back. He told his brother to eat the Indomie. Let him go and collect his phone from his friend. Let him go and collect his phone from his friend. So immediately he left. After 15 minutes, he heard that the building collapsed and the brother is inside. It was yesterday night they removed the brother and the young man is dead.
I came to find out that some of the ions he used to build was very tiny for an upstairs. Y8 and Y10, those are very tiny ions. Even the cement, there was no cement and blocks. Even when we were touching it, it was just catching like a sand. There was no cement in it. There was no good work. So the engineer should look for the engineer. The engineer should come out and tell us why he should use those equipment to build a hotel on a small space like this, not even up to 200 square meters of land.
This is the first incident of building collapse in Uyo since the Renaissance Church collapsed on December 10, 2016.
A terrible situation in Uyo. In part 2, after the break, 24 Nigerians sue INEC on behalf of 7 million others for failing to let them complete their online registration. That's in a moment. to join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us watching the News at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. Here's a reminder of our top stories this hour. President Muhammadu Buhari in New York for the United Nations General Assembly is expected to hold strategic bilateral meetings with world leaders, investors and heads of multinational organizations. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo joins other world leaders in London ahead of Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. Death toll Ahead of myself, death toll in Jigawa flood disaster hits 92 as waters continue to submerge communities in various parts of the state. And 24 Nigerians sue the Independent National Electoral Commission for not allowing them to complete their online registration. And that's where we continue. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, says 24 Nigerians have filed a lawsuit against the Independent National Electoral Commission for failing to give them and 7 other million Nigerians adequate time and opportunity to complete their voter registration after they had carried out their registration online. The plaintiffs, who are suing for themselves and on behalf of 7 million other Nigerians, want to complete the registration process so that they can obtain their permanent voter cards and exercise their right to vote. INEC recently disclosed that out of more than 10 million Nigerians who carried out their pre-registration online, only 3.4 million completed the process at a physical center, representing just 32.8% of completed online registration. But in the suit filed last Friday at the Federal High Court in Abuja, the plaintiffs are seeking an order to direct and compel INEC to reactivate its continuous voter registration exercise to allow the plaintiffs to complete their registration and collect their permanent voters' cards, the PVCs. In politics now, presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, has appointed Kogi State Governor Bello as the National Youth Coordinator of the Tinubu-Shetima Presidential Campaign Council. Mr. Tinubu, in a letter dated August 8, 2022, stressed that Governor Bello, who was an aspirant in the party's presidential primaries held in June 2022, deserved the appointment owing to his impressive political achievements and the exemplary leadership he had demonstrated as governor of his state and a party member. The former governor of Lagos State added that he was confident that the Kogi governor would do his best in the new responsibility given to him. The letter reads in part, "We're grateful that you've joined our campaign team. We know you will do your utmost in this new responsibility, so we conduct an effective, message-driven campaign leading us to victory in the 2023 presidential election. Together, not only can we ensure victory for our party in the February 2023 election, but we shall also move Nigeria along the path of national greatness by building on the achievements of our party and the President Muhammadu Buhari administration in providing progressive good governance to Nigerians." In his acceptance letter, Governor Bello pledged to deploy all in his capacity, working alongside the presidential candidate to ensure victory for the APC. Meanwhile, ahead of the elections next year, a group going by the name the Pragmatic Elites for Asiwaju and Shetima are advocating the need for total support for the party's presidential candidate and all candidates contesting under the party's banner. Speaking in Abuja, the inauguration of the National Working Committee of the group, the Director General of PREFAS, Mrs. Riskat Abdulaziz, announced plans to take the campaign to the doorstep of Nigerians in order to sensitize them on need to vote in all APC candidates.
Pragmatic Elites for Asiwaju and Shetima is a support group that is bent on delivering our principal, the Jagaban of Africa, the author of good governance in Nigeria, the author of inclusive politics. Our main goal is to work assiduously in delivering every APC candidate nationwide, from the presidential level to the gubernatorial to the governorship level, senatorial, and so on and so forth. To this vein, we'll be working with every APC candidate across all the political level we have in APC and in Nigeria.
For the opposition People's Democratic Party, however, efforts are still being made to ensure the party goes into next year's general election as one united party. The latest of such efforts is coming from aspirants for the House of Representatives under the banner of the PDP. A group is appealing to Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike to align with the aspirations of the presidential candidate, Mr. Atiku Abubakar. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the national chairman of the forum, Mr. Danjuma Mohammed, said the party needs to put its house in order to win the 2023 elections.
While we recognize the right of every member of the party to make demand and seek for their inclusion in the process, most especially the person who have contributed immensely to the growth and survival of the party, like His Excellency Governor Nyesom Wike. We are also constrained to advise that for the sake of our collective interests, all grievances can only be addressed within established democratic rules and orders of our party. Thus, we appeal to His Excellency Governor Nyesom Wike to accept the recent resolution of the National Executive Council, NEC, of our great party, reaffirming confidence in the national chairman of the party and the National Working Committee in good faith. No matter how he and our other associates may view the resolution to be at a variance with their desire and aspiration.
It's been 7 days now since the gruesome attack on Senator Ifeanyi convoy along Oka-Onisha Old Road in Anambra State. And while investigation is ongoing, the governor of the state, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, has been reacting to the attack. The governor says that the attack was a pure case of criminality by those who see the state as a breeding ground to perpetrate their crimes. Governor Soludo also pointed out the attack on Senator Oba's convoy was a rude interruption to the relative peace the people of Anambra State had enjoyed in the last 3 months. He was guest earlier on Sunday Politics.
Occasionally you might have clashes, and I had paid tribute to the gallant security forces and our own Anambra vigilante and the people of Anambra for their massive cooperation. So Anambra has been quiet, relatively peaceful, and we're pursuing this agenda. Compared to many other places in Nigeria, I would dare to say that if we were to have the statistics over the last 3 months, I think Anambra will compare favorably as one of the safest comparatively. But then came this big bomb on Sunday last week, exactly a week today. To the surprise of everybody, they scared. And I can tell you we are pursuing that very vigorously. There are several leads to this. Whether this was an orchestrated and pinpoint attack, there are all kinds of theories as to why and how that happened. But we are pursuing these people, and I can bet you it won't be too long before we pin them down.
Have you been able to unveil, have you been able to identify, are these criminals, are they agitators? Who are these guys? What do they want?
They are plain criminals. Full stop. Nothing else. Of course, there are some people who now hide under this, a bunch of these criminals hide under the cloak of agitation and so on. But IPOB has repeatedly distanced itself from the criminals. These criminals in the camps and so on and so forth, they are kidnappers and just mere plain criminals. It's lucrative criminality and idolatry. These are the two things that they've come with. Anambra is, well, without a doubt, the richest state in the southeast. So this is the place where kidnapping has the highest value.
To crime now, the operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency have arrested an ex-convict, Onyeka Charles Madukolu, at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos, for importing 5.90 kilograms of cocaine concealed in cans of deodorant and ladies' lip gloss in Nigeria. Onyeka, who was sentenced to 7 years imprisonment in Ethiopia for drug trafficking offenses and released from prison in 2020, was again arrested on Friday, September 16, 2022, at the Lagos airport on his return from Sao Paulo, Brazil, via Addis Ababa on an Ethiopian Airlines flight. A search of his luggage revealed he had concealed cocaine inside cans of deodorant and female lip gloss. During preliminary interview, he claimed to have gone into the drug business to raise fresh capital to start a legitimate business after his release from Ethiopian prison in 2020. In another case, NDLEA operatives intercepted a trafficker, Chukwu Kingsley, on Tuesday, September 13, on his way to Rome, Italy, on an Askai airline flight. A search of his luggage showed he had concealed among food condiments 11,460 tablets of tramadol, 225 milligrams, with a gross weight of 5.7 kilograms and 39 bottles of codeine syrup. The 49-year-old suspect is a known haulage agent who hails from Oru West local government area of Imo State. In Zamfara State, the police command has arrested a fake military officer, a notorious bandit and bandit informant, and other criminals who supply arms, ammunition, foodstuff, motorcycles, and military uniforms to bandits in the forest. Parading the suspects at the police headquarters in Gusau, the capital, a spokesperson of the command, Muhammad Shehu, said the suspects were arrested by the police tactical operatives during intelligence-led operations conducted in some criminal hideouts in Gusau and Safe local government areas of Zamfara State.
You can see how these people are conniving, are collaborating, are becoming dangerous and more dangerous to the people of Zamfara State and even beyond. You can see how they are making the nefarious activities of this bandit easier, because without them, this bandit cannot operate successfully. Without them, this bandit cannot have the access, the information on who to kidnap and where to attack. Without them, the bandits cannot have the opportunity to carry out their activities because they are getting supply of motorcycles. And everybody knows that it's through that motorcycle these bandits are carrying out their activities. They are also the one repairing their motorcycle if spoiled. So we want to use this opportunity to appeal to members of the public to continue to collaborate with us by flushing out, by giving information to the police and other security agencies on activities of this informant, because their activities is the most dangerous activities. If we can arrest them, if we can stop them from carrying out their activities, our state, Zamfara State, even the neighboring state will live in peace.
The Yobe State government says one of 3 livestock grazing reserves established in partnership with the federal government to end the farmer-herder conflict in the state has reached advanced stages. A commissioner for agriculture, Mairo Amshi, told journalists at a press briefing in Damaturu that the 3 grazing reserves, which has about 2,000 hectares of land, are expected to provide security for herders, minimize herders' movement, as well as increase the internally generated revenue for the state.
Crop and livestock farming, among other agricultural activities, remains the mainstay of Yobe residents, with the state boasting of one of the largest livestock markets in West Africa, located in Potiskum. But the conflict between farmers and herders continues to linger. To minimize the conflict, the state government, in partnership with the federal government, embarked on the construction of 3 livestock grazing reserve centers at Nazari, Badegana and Gurjaji, one in each of the 3 senatorial districts of the state.
The main reason for establishing the Livestock Development Center is to provide utmost security, 1, minimize herders' movement from one place to another, minimize farmer-herders conflicts, improve livestock value chain, establish dairy industries, thereby increasing the revenue generation in the state.
We have these grazing reserves that are gazetted. So the advantage there is we want to explore that advantage by improving the infrastructure inside the reserves, that is providing water, dams, electricity, veterinary clinic, dispensary there, milk collection center, all those facilities that will encourage the herders to stay in one place throughout the year, so that we'll be able to improve the value chain.
The government further reveals that work on the over 2,000-hectare irrigation scheme has commenced to create jobs for the teeming youths.
With the interest of Yobe State to develop agriculture, we have the Lava Irrigation Scheme located in Bursari local government area that has potential land size of over 2,000 hectares, out of which 20 hectares have been cultivated. The 2,000 hectares have been cleared, ready for irrigation to produce wheat, rice, and some vegetables.
With the efforts being put in place, the residents believe more revenue will accrue to the state, in addition to averting the perennial clashes between the farmers and herders due to encroachment of farmlands and cattle routes.
An explosive device suspected to be a bomb has gone off in Jalingo, the Taraba state capital. The incident, which occurred close to the first roundabout leading to the state university at about 9:35 p.m., destroyed shops and residential buildings nearby. Eyewitnesses at the scene of the blast say the bomb was planted behind a drinking joint. A 4-year-old boy was at the shop sleeping when the wall collapsed. Luckily, he survived and is receiving attention at the hospital. Though no life was lost, the police have cordoned off the area to avert another blast. And in Kaduna State, the government says it's commenced the construction of more access roads in rural communities under the Rural Renewal Project. The administrator of the Kaduna Capital Territory Authority, Hafiz Bayero, made the disclosure during the flag-off of the construction of the Dan Bushia Keke Road and Ongwan Pama roads in Chikun local government area of the state, part of the efforts to connect rural communities in the state to the cities.
The Urban Renewal Project, initiated by the Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai in 2019, has seen the construction of several roads and markets in Kaduna, Zaria and Kafanchan, while several others are in various stages of completion.
This project commenced, I think, in June 2019, and people said it was too ambitious, we should cut down, but somehow we've managed to complete those ones we initially thought of, and have even gone ahead to add some that were not initially part of it.
Under the scheme, contracts have been awarded for the construction of the 3.4-kilometer Dambushaya KK Road, linking the Umar Musa Yaradua bypass in Chikun local government area of the state. A 2.93-kilometer access road has also been awarded at Angwampama. The road leads to the popular Sabontesha market, which is under reconstruction, and the other surrounding communities.
The scope of road, we have some roads, it's spanning about 2.9 kilometers all round. There are different accesses. The major one is along the Sabo, this Kachia Road, Sabo to Angwampama. It goes through it. Then we have some around the other side of it, from the other right side of it. It's in total that we have. So it's about 6 roads, 6 connecting roads, giving a total of about 2.9 kilometers.
Since the beginning of the Kaduna State Governor's administration in 2015, several roads and other infrastructure projects across the 3 senatorial districts of Kaduna State have been completed. As the administration comes to an end in May of 2023, the government believes that the urban renewal project will be sustained by successive administrations.
Nigeria is paying the price for low vaccination rates of a number of vaccine-preventable diseases because of a number of factors, including reluctance of citizens to make themselves available, particularly in semi-urban and rural areas. That's the view of the Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, the NCDC, Dr. Fedayo Aditfifa. He told Channels Television's Ladia Kedulele and our current affairs program Newsnight that ailments such as yellow fever, cholera, and meningitis continue to take a toll on human health within the country because the momentum for vaccination was also interrupted by the arrival of the COVID-19 pandemic, and that health agencies are restarting awareness campaigns.
We've had historical challenges with vaccination coverage. We've had our sister agency, the MPHCDA, working hard to, in more recent times, to actually bring about gains. And just as the country seemed to be gaining some momentum with concurrent efforts to strengthen routine immunization and then conduct mass campaigns in response to the areas that we know are undercovered, COVID. And of course, with COVID, all of the issues at that time, health lockdown, movement restrictions, people were afraid of going to hospital. You couldn't convince any parents to take their child to a hospital because that is where you are more likely to get COVID and the like. So there were disruptions to immunization, both routine and planned campaigns. The world tried to recover, to sort of say, look, essential services should return, but we know that the journey to doing that has been really hard. And now what we are seeing is we are now paying the price for the gaps that occurred there. What we are keeping an eye on and what we are looking after as the NCDC is not what the headlines reflect. So the fact that, yes, everybody's talking about monkeypox, talking about COVID uptick now, does not reflect our priorities. We have to look after everything that turns up. So yes, we are already seeing cholera. We have been seeing cholera for a few months now, and we're expecting an uptick as the rains become established and all of that. Ahead of November, we're already preparing for meningitis and preparing again for the next Lassa fever season, unfortunately. And then we're also keeping an eye on, okay, if unmitigated transmission is going on, we're going to have all this U-type travel. Are we going to have another uptick in COVID cases again like we had with Omicron? You know, Omicron basically arrived with the end of the year in 2021. So, as I said, it's we are fighting wars on many fronts. So yes, we tend to always be spread out a little thin. But the important thing also is that, I mean, it's not just us, it's that we depend a lot on the states, who are basically the front lines.
You can watch the full interview with the Director General of the NCDC on Newsnight. It airs tomorrow, Monday, September 19 at 9 p.m. right here on Channels Television. And now to the arts. Ili is a photo exhibition of African fabric by two creatives in Lagos. This collaboration between a textile artist and a photographer is to show the beauty of culture and how it unifies people. We'll see it on Art Review tonight.
A collaboration between expressionist artist Mary Jane Ohobu and photographer Hakeem Salam birthed this exhibition titled Ili, which means cloth in the Doma, showing indigenous Nigerian fabrics in all its glory.
First of all, we're talking about indigenous Nigerian fabric, and we chose the middle belt as the title for the exhibition because we're talking about a binding factor, the center that binds the country. and that's what we find in Benue State. So we chose cloth in Idoma to represent that part of the country. So that's what ILI stands for. And what the exhibition is about is speaking about our indigenous Nigerian fabric, talking about the history, the people, our culture, the processes around how these fabrics are made. And we put all of that together, and we're projecting it through art pieces with the artwork done by me and photographed by Hakeem Salam.
In this exhibition, clothes are more than just covering. It's a symbol of unity, creativity, values and beauty, which cuts across cultures. The bold and brilliant works of art capture the eye of the audience as they admire the interplay between materials using the human body and canvas.
Wonderful. Wonderful seeing our Akara materials being used in all these pictorial works. Wonderful, bravo. That shows that our culture will never die. If we still have young people who can think that we should have all this in form of art, that means we're heading somewhere. That's the way I say it. Beautiful artworks that you can use in decorating your houses, not the normal drawings that we always see. So I've gone around seeing Akara used in different forms. Wonderful. I said thumbs up.
Adire, Igbulu, Akwacha, Ashoke, Ukara, Akwete are just a few of the many pieces highlighted in this exhibition.
Beyond our shores now, about 250 Ukrainian troops serving with the UN peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo have returned home to help instead with the offensive against Russia in Ukraine. When the withdrawal of Ukraine's aviation unit was announced in March, diplomats warned it could leave the UN mission seriously short of helicopters. These are vital in the fight against the various rebel groups based in the thick forest of eastern DR Congo. The 8 Ukrainian helicopters made up about a third of the UN fleet. Since the Russian invasion in February, Ukraine had already pulled out its troops from the other UN peacekeeping mission where they had been deployed. So an update now on the war in Ukraine. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says mass graves found in Ukraine are evidence of Russia's war crimes and that full accountability for its actions are needed. Mr. Trudeau was speaking in London ahead of a funeral for Queen Elizabeth II. He said that he had met with the British Prime Minister Liz Truss and that the Russian invasion of Ukraine was at the top of their agenda. Meanwhile, the European Executive's arm has proposed suspending $7.5 billion in financing for Hungary as it awaits potential game-changer anti-corruption reforms from Budapest. The government of Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban has also come under renewed fire for its close ties with Moscow, accused of having dragged its feet on freezing Russian assets since the invasion of Ukraine. The EU's Justice Commissioner Didier Reynders has added to the tensions between Brussels and Hungary, saying the government's friendliness with the Kremlin is potentially behind its foot dragging on implementing anti-Russian sanctions. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has called for the highest level of vigilance needed against mudslides, flooding and overflowing rivers as Typhoon Nanmadol struck down the country's southernmost main island of Kyushu. The meteorological agency is warning of gales and high waves like never before. Typhoon Nanmadol swept across Kyushu Island, the 14th typhoon of the season, bringing record rainfall. Weather forecasters say the island could receive 400 millimeters of rain over the next 24 hours and wind gusts of up to 235 kilometers per hour. And South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa is cutting short his overseas visit to attend the electricity crisis plaguing in the country. South Africa's struggling power utility company, Eskom, today placed the country on rolling blackouts, which currently stand at stage 6 load shedding after it cut 6,000 megawatts from the national grid after generation units at the 2 power stations broke down. This means blackouts all over the country several times a day. President Ramaphosa, who visited his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden, is among world leaders attending the funeral for Queen Elizabeth II in the UK. He's expected to return to the United States to address the 77th UN General Assembly, but will now return to South Africa from the UK right after the funeral tomorrow. And in sports news, Nigeria's chess Olympiad gold medalist Odion Ihoje has finally gotten his hands on his medal 24 years after he won a 33rd chess Olympiad. Ihoje was presented with his medal by the president of the World Chess Federation at the opening ceremony of the African Individual Chess Championship in Lagos. In 1998, Ihoje scored an unprecedented 6.58 with a 2.5110 rating performance to win a gold medal on the second board for Nigeria.
It's absolutely incredible. Literally about 24 years to the day, 1998 was September when we left for the Karmic Republic of Russia, the capital Livestock, where the 33rd World Chess Olympiad took place. And it was absolutely an incredible tournament for me. My very first time at the World Chess Olympiad, and I won. But unfortunately, due to logistics and scheduling challenges, I wasn't able to stay for the closing ceremony to receive this medal. Oh, that's gold. That's gold. So I've always said that Nigeria has 3 Olympic gold medalists. We have Chioma Ajua, we have the Dream Team, and we also have International Master of Chess Odion Ihoje. And now it's in my hands. This can go into the record books together with our other achievements.
The Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, is pledging his support for athletes who desire to make a career in sports. General Rabo, who promised to ensure that the Chief of Defense Staff Karate Championship becomes an annual event, used the occasion to applaud the Nigeria Karate Federation for successfully organizing the first edition, which saw African champion Chomani defeating world champion Ujunwa Wankwo in the 68-kilogram women's final.
Karate is one of the sports that contributes to the agility of the men and women of the armed forces. You know that unarmed combat is part of what we also do. Sometimes when you use arms, there are situations where you don't need arms to be able to, defeat the adversary. So karate, being one of the combat sports, is very useful for us in the armed forces. And I've just earlier on, indicated that it was well organized, and that has also opened up my knowledge and, of course, understanding regarding the karate itself. I've known karate, as a sport, as a combat sport, but of course I didn't know that this is the extent to which the Karate Federation of Nigeria can go in organizing championships such as this. I'm quite pleased, and I'd like to urge them to keep it up.
Plateau United have advanced to the second round of the qualifier for the CAF Champions League. The Jos-based team this evening defeated ASO Stade Manji of Gabon by a lone goal at the MKO Abiola Stadium in Abuja to progress 3-2 on aggregate, and will face Esperance of Tunisia for a spot in the group stage. NPFL champions Rivers United also progressed to the second round despite losing by a lone goal to Liberia's Watanga FC. The Pride of Rivers progressed 1-3 on aggregate and will face Wydad Athletic Club of Morocco. And while the CAF Confederation Cup was mixed fortunes for Nigerian teams, Kwara United forced Niger's AS Douane to a goalless draw, advancing 3-0 on aggregate. It was the end of the road for Remo Stars, who lost 1-0 at home in Ikenne, Ogun State, to Asfa Club of Morocco. The Moroccan team advanced 2-1 on aggregate. Arsenal are going into this international break top of the Premier League table following a 3-0 win over Brentford at the G-Tech Community Stadium. Two-headed goals in the first half from William Saliba and Gabriel Jesus set the Gunners on their way before Fabio Vieira scored his first Arsenal goal just minutes into the second half. And there was a moment of history too in West London as Arsenal's 15-year-old Ethan Nwaneri became the youngest ever Premier League player as he came off the bench in added time. Now, elsewhere, Neil Maupay scored the winner as Everton edged West Ham 1-0 at Goodison Park. Meanwhile, Arsenal, Brentford, Everton and West Ham all paid their respects to Queen Elizabeth II today, this afternoon, as the Premier League resumed this weekend. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta, Brentford manager Thomas Frank, Everton manager Frank Lampard and West Ham manager David Moyes laid wreaths at the centre of the pitch at the Brentford Community Stadium and at Goodison Park. Players and fans then held a minute's silence as a tribute to the late monarch, followed by a rendition of the national anthem. Finally, on sports news, Canelo Alvarez has revealed he went into his trilogy fight with Gennady Golovkin carrying a wrist injury. Canelo says he tore the cartilage in the wrist of his left hand and admitted the pain it caused was really bad. Despite the injury, he was rarely troubled as Golovkin, who is 40 years old, struggled to match his energy and work rate. Both fighters shared a warm embrace after the fight, despite their rivalry turning sour in the 4-year wait for the trilogy. They previously fought for the middleweight title in 2017 and 2018, with a draw declared in the first fight before Alvarez won the second on a split decision. And before we close tonight, the governor of Kogi State, Mr. Yahaya Bello, is expressing optimism. Her party has the capacity to deliver the state to Senator Bola Tinubu, the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, as he urges members of the party to play their role in ensuring total victory for the party. Governor Bello stated this in Lokoja, the state capital, during an interactive session with stakeholders of the All Progressives Congress. He applauds their efforts, support, patience and commitment to his administration, while stressing the need for more support ahead of the 2023 general elections.
The week is a very busy one for Governor Yahaya Bello, who has been meeting with party executives, candidates, aspirants and members of the APC from the 21 local government areas of the state. At the glass hall of the government house in Lokoja, aspirants and candidates of the APC converged on the invitation of Governor Yahaya Bello, who is desirous of charting the way forward with them. The state party chairman highlights the reason for the meeting.
We have gathered here today to see how we can have a family discussion that will help us to reposition All Progressive Congress in Kogi State so that we can continue to win all our elections.
Governor Yahaya Bello enjoins the aspirants who lost the primary elections to remain patient and wait for another election, as he assures them of a refund of the cost of their nomination forms.
Whatever you may have expended, I am personally pleading, and on behalf of all the aspirants, on behalf of all the candidates, and of course on behalf of the APC candidates, we shall refund your money 100%.
Away from the meeting with candidates, Governor Bello also met with the Yagba Federal Constituency, which comprises party members from Mokpa, Amuro, Yagba East and West local government areas of the state. Addressing the constituents, Governor Bello reiterates the need for them to visit every nook and cranny of their local government areas to canvass support and votes for all the candidates of the party.
If you do anti-party, remember we have a system that we shall be monitoring everyone. We will know, and then we will expunge you. Those you are doing anti-party for, remember they will simply use you and dump you. Because you don't belong to them. You can never be there.
As the general election gradually draws closer, the governor is highly optimistic that the party will emerge victorious at all levels.
And the main news again. President Muhammadu Buhari has arrived in New York for the United Nations General Assembly. The president is expected to hold strategic bilateral meetings with world leaders and heads of multinational organizations. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has joined other world leaders in London ahead of the Queen's funeral tomorrow. And the death toll from the Jigawa flood disaster has hit 92 as waters continue to submerge communities in various parts of the state. That is the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I am Amarachi Ubani. Good night.